Welcome to Reading Room Ruffians, a podcast about all things library. This is Mallory, Carla, Ariel, and Zach coming to you from Jackson County, West Virginia.
Except Zach. He's in Seattle.
Well, yeah, Zach's in Seattle. Today we are going to be talking about a little bit about MiniCon coming up. I think today is the last day we are able to tell you about MiniCon. It should be happening this week, whenever you listen to it. And we will also be talking about a nonfiction book, The Language of Trees, which Carla read and is going to be telling us all about it.
All right, so I guess let's start with MiniCon. We are nearing the date, and we are all still rushing around trying to get everything done. We do have one coworker who's so far behind, and we are all worried.
Very.
But MiniCon is a program that we have yearly where we have roughly, I would say, 300 to 500 people come by. And it's essentially like a Comic-Con, but on a very tiny scale in our public library. We are doing Welcome to the Multiverse this year, if you have not listened to the other podcasts. And we're using literary worlds instead of Marvel stuff because as librarians, we think books are better. So we have different worlds such as Studio Ghibli, Sword Art Online, Genshin Impact, The Discworld by Terry Pratchett, The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher, and then we'll have like the Ghostbusters and Star Wars.
And the Doctor Who books.
Oh yeah, and Doctor Who.
Series.
I knew I was forgetting something. Mm-hmm. There's too many worlds. Anyways, so we'll have vendors and we'll have crafts and we'll have like scavenger hunts and speakers and role-playing games. And it's just a whole lot of fun. But it does take an incredible amount of work to get it set up. So if you are in the area, it'd be great if you came by and see everything that we've done.
It's a lot of fun.
Super, yeah, it's fantastic every year.
Yeah, each year we're like, oh, this was so good, but next year let's do this, and it'll be bigger
more.
And better. And that's where we get into trouble.
We can't be stopped. Eventually we'll take over the world.
It will happen. Starting with our little block.
That's right. I think that'll move us into The Language of Trees. Carla?
Okay. The actual title of the book is Finding the Mother Tree. Discovering the Wisdom of the Forest by Suzanne Simard, or Simard. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I probably should have looked it up. But it goes into a lot of research on how the network of fungi underneath the forest floor connects everything, and that there is more communication and more happening there than what we really realize, and how it affects the plants and the trees in the area. Okay, at first this evidence was highly controversial. I think the first book I know that it came out in was The Secret Life of Plants by Peter Tompkins and Christopher Bird. And people were like, oh, there's no way. That's just like a bunch of hokey or whatever. It's like they just didn't believe any of it, that plants could respond to outside stimuli like voices or music or being threatened. And people just discounted it. And then The Hidden Life of Trees by Peter Wolleneben. Do you know how to pronounce that, Zach?
I have no idea how to pronounce it. He's got a weird name.
He's from Germany.
No
it is a strange name for us. But anyway, and he started doing more research. And then the articles started being peer-reviewed. And Suzanne, she really got in depth. And she has provided a lot of peer-reviewed papers. There's a lot of actual scientific evidence to support the fact that trees communicate a great deal of information with the roots. And it's really a fascinating story because it gives you a whole different perspective when you look at a forest or when you look at a park. And it makes you wonder, like, okay, what's going on underneath the roots that I don't know about? What are they talking about?
Yeah.
And I use the word talking. It's communicating, really, because I don't think they talk quite like we do, but it's just easier to say that. And the way the fungal network is set up is patterned a lot like our brains with the synapses and the different connections. And they use a lot of the same chemicals and neurotransmitters as we use in our brain. And the signals create a cascade of ions just like that works in mammal brains. So it's really interesting. And it makes you think, what else are we missing in the world? What other things have we not seen, have we not discovered? And for me, a lot of time, people that work with animals or work with plants are more in touch with what's going on, and they pay more attention, and they notice the little things. And people that don't work with them is like, oh, that's crazy. Animals can't feel. I mean, there was a time we even thought that newborn babies couldn't feel pain. And looking back on that, that seems pretty stupid.
That's insane.
So why why do we not look at this and give, I guess, plants the benefit of the doubt that maybe there's something more going on that we just don't understand?
Yeah.
Kind of makes you really think when you're like out there cutting down trees or something like that.
Yeah.
See, I love that because I hate to see people cut down trees.
Yeah.
Like, it makes me sad. And I've always thought plants kind of, not necessarily have feelings like we do, but, felt something.
Yeah.
I mean, she even talked about their having similar responses to, like, what we would consider a painful stimuli.
Mm-hmm.
Their cells react the same way. So there's a good chance they do feel pain.
And I mean, the fact that they already...
At least a negative thing.
Yeah, they can already see where, plants react to certain types of music.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been known for a while.
And
like, why would you think that, that it doesn't? I mean, it affects even water.
Yeah. And like plants, people who have done the talking negatively to plants.
Yeah, and then
they talk positively to others. And the difference between them is astounding, really. It's crazy.
I talk to my plants all the time.
Yeah.
Every time I water, I'm like, look how beautiful you are. My sweet babies.
It's necessary.
It is. I think so. I think we should give everything the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And not assume that they're inanimate. Yeah. And they don't. There's nothing going on there.
Well, I mean, they really are living things. I mean, we've discerned that. I mean, that's what we learn in biology whenever we start that out. They are living things. They do need water. They do need air. All of the things that we would need. Why wouldn't they have something similar, if not their own way of communicating or feeling or any of that? It doesn't, when you think about it, it is kind of just arrogance on our part, maybe. It's kind of silly. But.
I think when I was young, I read this story about trees, and the trees were sentient, and I guess this is kind of where my whole belief that trees had, feelings or whatever started from. But they didn't see things like we did. They saw, like, their years were like days to us, or vice versa, and they would grow, because trees live for so long, and then all of a sudden their friends were gone because they got clear cut. Mm-hmm. And it was just like a day happened for them. One day their friend's there, the next day it's gone. Mm-hmm. And they mourned their friends that were gone. They didn't understand why they were gone. Yeah. And, like, ever since that, I'm like, that's a horrible existence to have,
It's scary what we have wrought on the world. If there's truth in this. And a lot of she is not what you would consider a tree hugger. She grew up in a logging family where they logged the forest in a way that it constantly regenerated. Mm-hmm. And it was not like damaged to the point of not being able to recover. Yeah. And now a lot of logging companies clear cut. Mm-hmm. And that does so much more damage to the ecosystem and the forest.
Yeah, because it doesn't affect just the forest. It affects everything that lives in the forest. And, trickles down to even affecting us.
Mm-hmm. That's true. But what she discovered is there are what she calls mother trees. They're the oldest trees in the forest, and all the roots are connected. So forests create these little microclimates, and in order to survive and to thrive, they all have to work together. So when the saplings are growing up, they're connected to the mother trees through their roots. And when one of them is doing bad, there's more nutrients and sugars and stuff sent to that tree to help it out. Or if one of them's in a drier place, water is pumped up through this whole network from meters away get to this. I mean, they support each other. And in the Hidden Life of Trees, the guy there was a forester. And he found what he thought was a bunch of rocks laid out in this really weird pattern. And he went to pull the moss back to see, what kind of rocks these were and what they were doing like that. And he discovered they were stumps. It is a tree that had been cut down hundreds of years before that was being kept alive through the roots because it was probably a mother tree at one point. Yeah. And it seems like the trees have, like, their families they're connected with, and then there's other trees that are slightly more aggressive and sneak in and, like, try to destroy the fungal networks of the other trees. So there is, like, a small, like, little battle going on there, and they favor those they're close. But
now I'm worried that my favorite types of trees are really the sneaky ones, and I can't have that.
I think it was the beech that were
they're not a favorite. So.
Okay, in that book. But I've lost my train of thought now.
Sorry.
That's okay. Give me a minute.
Sneaky trees.
But the fact that they help each other out
that's really cool.
This is scientifically
I mean, I think
in peer-reviewed papers.
I think it means a lot too that they come from like logging families and stuff like that, and not like hippie tree hugging.
Yeah,
because like that's a big,
Mm-hmm. Now the book I thought was a little hard to read because she's talking about like discovering like the metacrosal. I'm not to pronounce that right. How do you pronounce it? It's like mycorrhizal. That's it.
Thanks, Zach.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. I don't think you can. I was trying to like spell it out in
Because
my
I
head.
can definitely read the pages.
Yeah. Well, I thought maybe you just knew, Anyway, when she looked at the clear-cut places where the saplings weren't doing well. Mm-hmm. And I'll explain that in a minute too. But she pulled one up to look at the roots and stuff like that, and they were just like these little shriveled roots because they came out of a nursery. They never had a chance to grow and expand. And then she heard what she thought was a bear or something. She ran down the hill and fell, to get away from the bear with cubs. It was like was like a threatening situation. And she pulled up another sapling from the forest that had not been clear cut, and its roots were covered with these fungal networks. And then she got to thinking, well, maybe there's something going on here. And then that's when she found out about all the connections and stuff like that. But she feels like the saplings they put out are like a bunch of orphan kids that have never had a parent.
Yeah.
So they can't make the connections. Their roots are stunted, and they can't. And then we plant them directly into the soil layer and the clay and the rocks and stuff like that, and they don't get a chance to spread out on that humus layer where all the fungus is. So they never connect, and they can't depend on each other to thrive and grow and help each other. So they're just a bunch of poor little
orphans planted
kids.
in a graveyard.
Pretty much,
yeah.
That's horrible.
It's kind of sad, but it's like it brings home the point that we need to see how things work. That things work together in a web instead of individuals.
So I wonder, if you were to start putting newer trees on the edges closer to the older trees, if they would accept them.
If it's the same species, sometimes they will. Sometimes
that's cool.
They'll nurse them, and
it's so good. I just imagine little baby trees.
I know.
There is a stand of beech. It's one of the largest organisms in the world. And I want to think I cannot remember where it is now, but it's somewhere out west.
Where the whole forest is like that tree.
It's the same basic.
It's the same
everything's
tree.
Connected underneath the
They
ground.
did that in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they had a swamp kind of thing where the entire forest was there was this one giant tree in the center and then all these little ones, and they were all connected. It was all one tree, essentially. That's how Toph could tell when people were coming.
Ah.
Because she was blind, So my nerd showing a little bit there.
It is one of the best shows ever created.
It is a great show. But yeah, I mean, they did that in that show. So, you can see where it's being represented in media.
Mm-hmm.
There was one thing she said in the book, that Suzanne said in her book. She was out in the forest, and she would talk about the science, and then she would talk about, what was going on at home. And then it was so disjointed with the way she presented it in the book. Mm-hmm. It was and then there's all this wonderful fungal network, and look at there's a blueberry bush. I better look out for bears. It was so. It was
like an ADHD.
And then you would go back to
Sounds like me
to the stuff, but to what she was actually talking about. So it was kind of, or she'd be riding her bike half a day to see her brother ride in a rodeo. I mean, it was and then you would go back to the trees. It's so it was
very
kind of
stream of
disjointed.
consciousness.
Yeah,
Sort of.
but she said this one thing that I thought was really cool. She was out in this old growth forest, and I guess she had an incredibly bad day that day. But it was the air purified by the ancient forest hovered, and I felt the downdraft cleanse me. And I thought, that's just so. It's it just makes you want to take a deep breath.
Yeah,
and be there.
Yeah,
to wash away all the stuff that you carry with you all the time. But anyway, I like that. So, any questions or
No, I have so many
comments.
I
Well,
have so many.
Well, go ahead. I want to hear them. I'm ready, man.
Okay, so first of all, I just want to clarify though. The tree that you're talking about is Pando. It's got a name.
Okay.
And it's an
Wait,
aspen.
the one from Avatar or the real one?
The real one.
Okay, well, I didn't know. We mentioned both.
Yeah.
The other one was just that swamp thing. But they had that cool tree, dude. The vine bender people.
Yeah, they were cool.
Spoiler alert: it's not a monster. It's fine, people. Anyway, but yeah, it's apparently they're trembling aspens. It's really cool looking. Okay, so I will say that
it's aspens, not beech. Okay.
Yeah, aspens. Yeah, not beeches.
Sorry.
No, you don't talk about beeches after like the Hidden Life of Trees book.
That's right. I'm getting them confused. I listened to that one again, and I think he's got a lot of good information, but he does go to the next level of.
Yeah, he goes. That's the main issue I have with that book is that he goes so far above what he should be saying.
Yeah, he's like pretty
conspiracy theory.
No, he's like it's like they're us. And in a way everything is.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean it's a really good book and it's
super hard.
And it makes you love trees. It's like, but
it is. It's a cool book.
Scientifically he does kind of go the extra mile.
He'll take stuff that is like, accepted, and then he'll like extrapolate a little bit too far. He also like gets really hard into effectively saying that trees are straight up sentient. They can think and talk and all this stuff. I'm like, no, bro.
I don't know. I have to disagree with you on that one. I'm not so sure that we know enough to say that. Because the more we discover, the more we're seeing that there's a lot more going on there than we realize. I think it's just so alien to us.
It's different.
Yeah.
I will admit that you can. There's definitely more to know about trees, but an individual tree, I still claim, does not think because it doesn't have anything to do that with. Maybe you can have like a bulk organism of a bunch of trees with the interconnected network has stimulus responses, but that's not the same thing. That's like a bug,
How do you know bugs don't think?
Are you saying bugs don't think?
I'm saying bugs do not have complex thought. Yeah, I don't think that's a controversial
there's a
statement.
difference. There's a huge difference between complex thought and thinking.
Well, okay, so I won't get super into it, but what do we think thinking is? We need a good definition for that. Because,
for me, it's just thinking. You don't have to like, oh, well, it feels good today. It's nice. Or I like this person. Or it's just a basic, flat line of thought. It's not like, I wonder which star that is up there in the sky that's like putting out this gamma ray burst or something. I mean, that's more complex thinking, in my opinion, as opposed to just being.
It's okay. So it's like saying that babies don't think.
Yeah.
They don't have complex thoughts, but they do think.
Yeah.
Well, they have more.
That's
they have more of a brain. They sort of think. I don't know. This is actually just a really good thought.
Says the man who doesn't have children. Says the man who doesn't have children and lives in a city. Okay, so your points are invalid. We live in beautiful West Virginia with all our trees, and you live in a city.
Didn't you guys' population go down recently because everybody wanted to leave?
That's because our economy's not good, not because our state's not beautiful.
It is very pretty out there.
There's a difference.
I don't know. I think the issue is I feel like at best it's like a machine,
Now, see, that's saying machines think.
Machines. I'm saying that machines don't think. That's my point.
No, I think that's what people would consider instinct. Would be code.
Yeah, I think that's more of what it is instinct.
I think there's more going on. I really do. I think there's much. Why in God's name would you nurture a stump?
Because of physics. That's why.
Because of physics.
Because there is a carbon gradient. Because there's a carbon gradient between the two. And stuff disperses. Maybe the stump had wisdom and experience that it needed to pass on to those young ones, and they appreciated it, and they kept it alive. Oh, so that's just going way too far. No, I don't think so. I mean, because what if it knows how to handle fires, or what if it knows how to respond to beetle infestations, or what if it knows how to deal with drought more so than the younger ones? I get this idea. I don't buy it at all. Is all I'm saying. Messed up. Did you know that the Coast Salish people, it's native, I don't know if that's pronounced right. It's, what do they call them in Canada? The original people, or?
I have no clue.
Anyway, the natives to Canada say that trees teach about their symbiotic nature to people, and they think they have personhood. So they see trees as a valid life form as they would a person.
See, I love that.
Yeah, me too.
And they live with
once
them.
again, shows how amazing they are.
Well, she was from Canada. That's where this is all taking place.
It's a nice sentiment.
I'm pretty sure the tree that owns itself would fight you.
I love that story.
It's kind of fun.
And I think it actually had a tree baby.
I think it did,
and then it went to that tree baby.
Yeah.
So now the tree baby owns itself,
I love
too.
it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think it's funny that in myth and stuff, trees are given a lot more sentience and personhood. And there's a lot of truth in myth and legend.
I think part of deviating away from the myth and stuff like that is that anymore we're so like, we are the most important. You know, things can't be as amazing as we are, essentially. And I think that that's probably why a lot of the thinking about whether trees have these feelings or have sentience or anything like that is like a lot of us being like, no. Because then that would make us be like, oh, we're murdering things, you know?
It's like a lot of times we don't even think that animals we raise on a farm, like the big farms, are life forms.
Which is horribly sad. Yeah. Like, because I don't think I'm not against farming animals.
No, me either.
Or, you know, cutting down trees if you need to build something or something like that. But there's definitely ways to go about it that it's better than just...
respectful and...
yeah, than annihilating everything.
Yeah.
One time when I was probably 10, I had to go... I mean, Dad would always pick the god-awfulest worst days to go out. It would be like...
sounds about right.
85, 90, 95 degrees. It'd be hot.
Yeah.
But he was out cutting down... I want to think it was oak trees. And there was a young sapling. Well, I say young sapling, but according to some of this research, a tree can be quite old and still not be very big.
Oh, yeah, no, that's definitely true.
Because the mother trees keep them kind of like stunted and growing slow, so they grow small rings and they get stronger.
Yeah.
And then when they grow up, they can handle things.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But anyway, I watched it was probably about maybe 12 feet tall. The tree had not been touched, but a couple of larger trees near it were being cut down. That tree wilted. It was like it fainted. And that has always stuck with me. I'm like, why on God's name would this one wilt when it wasn't being brushed against, it wasn't being trampled upon, but it literally just wilted.
I mean, that does suggest a connection between the trees.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know that at the time. I just thought, but that did make me look at trees different ever since then. Because I thought that one fainted because the one that right beside it was being killed.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I want to cry now.
That makes me want to cry really, really bad.
And I can see that tree in my head. I mean, it's like it's stuck there. It's like, anyway, they're really interesting books if you don't have to read them in a week.
I think I would like to read this one. I would say to people, read a couple chapters of The Hidden Life of Trees and then put that book away because it gets real dumb.
It's like, well, actually, if you listen to, I listen to it. If you listen to it, he makes good points. You just have to take he went extreme in the other direction.
Yeah.
I mean, instead of like they have nothing,
they have
everything.
Absolutely
and it's like, and I think there's a balance there, but and I think we don't understand a lot of it. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, I mean, I got the illustrated version in front of me, and there's some beautiful pictures in it.
Okay, I've got a better thing. Instead of reading that book, watch the movie because it's better.
The Hidden Life of Trees?
Oh, yeah, it's much better because he doesn't ramble so much.
Movie. Actually, Finding the Mother Tree, there's a documentary on that too, so you can watch that too.
I love documentaries.
Yeah, The Hidden Life of Trees is a better documentary because you don't get as much of his inane rambling. Sorry, I didn't like that book very much.
I know you didn't. But you got to pick out the good points.
Yeah, no, there is good stuff in there. It's just that 85% of the book was him. I'm not entirely sure he didn't want to have a relationship in some way with trees, if you know what I mean. Just saying.
Wow.
It was intense.
He did love his trees. And he was very critical of people and how they treated trees.
I think that's also a good thing. I just think that the motivation is not necessarily correct.
It was, we don't do them right. And nurseries are kind of horrible places.
Yeah.
It's like, it makes me not want to buy nursery trees, but again, I also want trees. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
yeah.
I mean, you can do it in such a way that the trees will be fine eventually if you get them right.
Yeah.
And as long as you actually take care of them properly.
This kind of makes me think of, I've heard a couple of times, the reason that pollen is so bad is because we no longer in populated areas have a balance of like male and female trees. It's mostly male. And so they don't have anything. They're just trying to blow out all of their pollen to pollinate, but there's nothing for it to go to. So it's just
That's a lot of cities, they won't grow female trees.
Yeah.
Because they produce fruit that gets messy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But there are some that people have planted and the trees were like, nope, I'm switching. Yep. And they became female trees.
Yeah.
Which I love that.
Hilarious. Love to see it.
Ginkgo's a really bad one.
Yeah.
They only plant the males.
But which is so insane to me.
Oh my gosh, you'll have to step on something and get yucky. I mean, that's the reason.
I don't know. I guess growing up here, that's just not a thing for me. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
To be fair, in cities, it does get pretty messy if there's a lot of fruit. Just saying. I've seen a few places where it is, and it's miserable. So.
Yeah, but I bet the allergies aren't bad.
I was going to say, why don't they just eat the fruit?
Some do. And a lot of guys could eat, but, not all the fruit's going to come out good.
Well, no, but.
Yeah, but you can also use it for composting. I mean, that's a
lot of effort.
I mean, for some people it might not be.
Yeah, Zach.
I'm just saying that's the reason why the city doesn't want to do it, because they actually have to pay somebody to do it.
Yeah. And there's never money for anything.
They have those machines, though, that come up and they, wrap around the trees and shake it and they fell down.
I'm kind of worried that maybe now that's not a good thing either.
I
mean, violence.
Give me your fruit!
Give me the fruit.
But I mean, it's better than chopping them down or not
That's true.
Efficiency. Yeah, it might not be good for them. I think that it's not actually too bad because it's pretty padded or something around the things. I don't actually know, though.
Anyways, I do want to say that we do have at least, Finding the Mother Tree?
We have Finding the Mother Tree, The Secret Life of Plants, and The Hidden Life of Trees, the illustrated edition.
All within our collection at the library.
And there are The Hidden Life of Trees we have on e-audio, too.
So if you want to check them out,
We have them here available for you to read, and then we can have more discussions.
Yeah.
We don't have a forum yet, do we? Or anything? We need a subreddit or something so people can talk to us. Or a Goodreads thing. I think you can do a Goodreads channels or whatever.
Oh, yeah, we probably could. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have no idea. I am still learning all this.
Well, the book club has a Goodreads page.
Yeah.
We probably could do that for our podcast.
We should do that, and then we could get feedback.
Yeah, so far we just have the email and...
Yeah, because I would love to have people
Facebook.
Weigh in on this and their thoughts and stuff like that, 'cause that'd be really good.
So they can be like, Carla was right, man. She's got this down. Trees are sentient.
Or they'll be like Zach and be like, yeah, that lady's crazy.
Getting out my tinfoil hats.
So I got 30-something years of experience with her. She's crazy. We know that. Only gets worse as she gets older.
I mean, on the other side, I also have 30-some years of experience with her, and I don't think she's nearly as crazy as you make her out to be.
Nah, you're just also crazy.
Rude.
Called out. Okay.
This is your future.
I'm okay with that.
I think, are we going to wrap up?
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so on next week's episode, we are going to be discussing, we're going to be having our staff therapy session. And I think we might talk about how to handle bad patrons, what to do if somebody has a bad day and they take it out on you. There are a couple of situations we could probably come up with, but it'll be a pretty interesting, I think. So,
especially for people to see,
Yeah, kind of how we have to deal with the public. And it's not always, and it's not every day, but there are definitely times when you just kind of wish, how would I handle that?
Yeah.
Or how I wish somebody would have told me how to handle that before it happened. So that is our next week. We will be signing off today. This was Mallory again.
And Ariel.
And Carla.
And Zach.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Reading Room Ruffians. We will see you next week. And remember, the best libraries do not have librarians who shush you.